Trigonometry, the study of triangles and the relationships between their sides and angles. So how to find an unknown side in a right angle triangle using the ratios sine, cosine and tan. And this time we're going to focus on ratios where the unknown side is in the denominator. Okay. Our trigonometric ratios are sine equals opposite over hypotenuse, cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan equals opposite over adjacent. And for these videos, we will have them abbreviated at the top of the screen. So our ratios are sine equals O over H, cosine is A over H, and tan is O over A. Okay, so we're going to use our ratios sine, cosine, and tan to find an unknown side in a right-angled triangle. So example number 1, find the length of the side A correct to 1 decimal place. So label your triangle. So opposite my right angle I have my hypotenuse, opposite my angle I have my opposite, and my remaining side is the adjacent. So which two sides am I going to use for my ratio? Well, I'm going to use my opposite because I know it's a 7, and I'm going to use my hypotenuse because I'm looking for A. So which ratio uses opposite and hypotenuse? So look to the top there and you can see that it is sine. So we're going to use the sine ratio to build our solution. So what we have is the sine of 35 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse is 7 over A. Now this time the unknown is in the denominator. Okay, so it might be a little bit longer to solve for A this time. Okay, so what we're going to do is use our balancing method. Now we can see that 7 is divided by A. So to cancel the A, we need to use the reverse operation multiplying by A. And we need to do that to both sides to maintain balance. So multiplying both sides by A, I get A sine 35 equals 7. So there I can see that A is multiplied by the sine of 35. So to cancel off the sine of 35 so that I can find A, I need to use the reverse of multiplying by sine 35. I need to divide by sine 35, and I need to do that to both sides. Okay, so that will find A for me then. I'll have A equals 7 divided by the sine of 35. So at this point now we have a representation of A, but what we want to do now is put that in the calculator and get the number answer. Okay, so get out your calculator, and what I do here in these is instead of typing in 7 divided by sine 35, I like to use the fraction button, but either way is fine. So if you use the fraction button, type in 7 and then into the denominator using your arrow to go down, type in sine 35 equals, and we get 12.204125. Okay, go back over to your question. What was it that they were looking for? They're looking for the side A correct to 1 decimal place. So correct to 1 decimal place here, we can see after the 2 we have a 0. So we'll be rounding down to 12.2. Okay. Example number 2 then. Find the length of the side Y correct to 2 decimal places. So label your triangle. Opposite my right angle is my hypotenuse. Opposite my angle is my opposite, and the remaining side is my adjacent. So which two sides will we use this time for our ratio? We will use the adjacent because we know it's 12, and we'll use the hypotenuse because we're looking for Y. So which ratio uses adjacent and hypotenuse? So look to the top there and you can see that it's cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So we're going to use that ratio to build our solution. Okay, so we can write down now that the cosine of 27 degrees equals adjacent over hypotenuse is 12 over Y. And now, so what we have to do is we have to solve for Y to find the length of Y. So we're going to use our balancing method. So 12 is divided by Y. So then to cancel the Y, we need to use the reverse operation multiplying by Y. So multiply both sides by Y, and we get Y times cosine of 27 degrees equals 12. Now the Y is multiplied by the cosine of 27. So to cancel the cosine of 27, because it's been multiplied by Y, we now need to do the reverse, divide by the cosine of 27 and do that to both sides. And then what we end up with is Y equals 12 divided by the cosine of 27 degrees. So at this point, get your calculator. use your ratio or fraction button and type in 12, arrow down, cosine 27 equals, and you'll get your length there. It's 13.467. Look at your question. It's correct 2 decimal places. Now after the 2 decimal places is 0.467. So the 7 means we're rounding up, so it'll be 13.47. Okay, so example number 3. Find the length of the side x, correct 2 decimal places. So opposite my right angle, I have my hypotenuse. Opposite my angle, I have my opposite, and the remaining side is my adjacent. So which 2 sides are we going to use for our ratio? We need to use the opposite because we know it's 6, and we need to use the adjacent because we're looking for x. So which ratio uses opposite and adjacent? Look to the top there and you can see that it is tan that uses opposite and adjacent. So now we're going to use the tan ratio to build our solution. So we have the tan of 37 degrees equals opposite over adjacent is 6 over x. So using our balancing method to find x, firstly we see that 6 is divided by x. So to cancel the x we need to use the reverse operation, multiplying by x. So multiply both sides by x. And we have then x times tan 37 degrees equals 6. Now, the x then is multiplied by the tan of 37 degrees. So to cancel the tan of 37 degrees, because it's been multiplied, we need to do the reverse, which is divide by the tan of 37 degrees, and do that to both sides to maintain balance. So now we have x equals 6 divided by the tan of 37 degrees, and that can go now straight into your calculator. So 6 over the tan of 37 degrees equals 7.96226.893. Back over and check, what did your question ask you for? It asked for x correct 2 decimal places. So after 0.96 we see we have a 2, which means we're rounding down, so our answer is 7.96. Now, example number 4. Find the length of the side B correct to 1 decimal place. So opposite my right angle I have my hypotenuse, opposite my angle I have my opposite, and my remaining side is my adjacent. So which 2 sides are we going to use this time? So we're going to use the adjacent because we know it's 4.1, and we're going to use the hypotenuse because we're looking for B. And look at here, don't be thrown off by the fact that there's a decimal point now, okay? It's all the exact same thing, it's just a wee bit longer than 4. All the same method. Okay. So we're going to use the adjacent and we're going to use the hypotenuse. So which ratio uses adjacent and hypotenuse? You can see it is the cosine ratio. So we're going to use cosine to build our solution. So we have that the cosine of 67 degrees equals adjacent over hypotenuse is 4.1 over b. We need to solve for b, so let's use our balancing method. 4.1 is divided by b. So to reverse dividing by b, we need to multiply by b. So multiply both sides by b. So that leaves us with b times the cosine of 67 degrees equals 4.1. Now, what we need to do is solve for b. b is multiplied by cosine of 67. So to reverse multiplying by cosine 67, we need to divide by cosine 67. So divide both sides by cosine 67. And we have b equals 4.1 divided by the cosine of 67. So straight into the calculator with that. So 4.1 divided by the cosine of 67 gives me 10.4931493. Okay, looking back to my question, they're looking for the side B correct to 1 decimal place. So you can see after my 1 decimal place, which is a 4, I have a 9. So 9 is greater than 5 means I'm going to be rounding up. So I will round up to 10.5. Now example 5. Find the length of the side x, which is to be represented as a whole number. So labeling our triangle, opposite my right angle I have my hypotenuse, opposite my angle I have my opposite, and my remaining side is the adjacent. So which 2 sides am I going to use here? I'm going to use my opposite because I know it's 7.8, and I'm going to use my adjacent because I'm looking for A. So which ratio uses opposite and adjacent? So you can see from the top there that it is the tan. So using tan then to build our solution, we have that the tan of 38 degrees equals opposite over adjacent is 7.8 over A. So solving for A, let's use our balancing method. 7.8 is divided by A. So to cancel that, we need the reverse of division, which is multiplying. So we need to multiply by A. So multiplying both sides by A. That gives me then A multiplied by tan of 38 degrees equals 7.8. So now I see that my A is multiplied by the tan of 38. So to reverse multiplying by the tan of 38, I need to divide by the tan of 38, and we're going to do it on both sides to maintain balance. So that leaves me with A equals 7.8 divided by the tan of 38. Straight into my calculator with that then. 7.8 over the tan of 38, or as I said, 7.8 divided by the tan of 38 equals 9.983544731. Look to my question. We have to represent this as a whole number. So you can see it's 9.98. So that's so close to 10. Okay, so we're going to round up to a 10 as our whole number. Okay, so let's finish up with one for you. So find the length of the side x and represent your answer as a whole number. Okay, so why don't you pause the video there and give it a go. Okay, so the answer then, first thing we need to do is to label our triangle. So opposite my right angle, I have my hypotenuse. Opposite my angle, I have my opposite, and my remaining one is the adjacent. So here we're going to use the opposite because we know it's 12.4, and we're going to use the hypotenuse because we're looking for h. So which ratio uses opposite and hypotenuse? It is the sine ratio. So let's use that to build our solution. So we know that the sine of 51 degrees equals opposite over hypotenuse 12.4 all over x. Okay, so we need to solve for x. So let's use our balancing method. So 12.4 is divided by x. So to reverse dividing by x, we need to multiply by x on both sides. Okay, perfect. And that will cancel that x off for me. So my next row then is sine multiplied by the x. So x times sine of 51 equals 12.4. Okay, so we're still not home yet because we're looking for x, but it's multiplied by the sine of 51. So to reverse multiplying by the sine of 51, we're going to have to divide by the sine of 51, and we're going to have to do that on both sides. So divide by the sine of 51 on that side and this side. Okay, and that will cancel that off for us. So then we'll be left with x equals 12.4 divided by the sine of 51. And then we'll put that straight into the calculator. So I'll get my calculator here. Okay, so here we have it's 12.4, and I'm going to use my fraction button for this. So 12.4, use your arrow button to come down, divided by the sine of 51 degrees. And then I always use my arrow to come back out of that. Okay, so that's what I have here. Press equals, and it's 15.9558. And then let's just check what way did we have to leave the answer as a whole number. So after the decimal, I have a 9.5. So you can see we're going to be rounding up here to 16. Okay, so my answer here is x equals 16. Okay.